Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. We're coming to you from Tidal Waves in Mumbai, talking about the gifting space here in India, the opportunities and challenges for entrepreneurs looking at the space. We have a very special panel. Let me introduce them. First up is Harsha Razdan, Partner and Head Consumer Markets, KPMG in India. We have Yogita Parekh, Co-Founder and CEO of Wishtry. We also have Meenu Singhal, Chief Experience Officer, India Santa. Thank you all for being with us here tonight to really talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in the gifting space. It's a massive market in India, but clearly the potential for growth is much more given the fact that we have businesses like yours which are present in this market. Let's talk about the size of the market, Harsh. And numbers suggesting this is a massive market and it's set to become much bigger. How have you seen the changes? You're someone who very closely studies this market. What sort of changes have you seen over the past few years?
So if you look at our economy, we've been growing at about 7 to 8% for the last few years. If you look at our median age, it's 27 as compared to China at 37, 38. 50% of our population is within the working age group. Disposable income growing, discretionary income growing. So I think all talks good for when you talk about the industry in our country. Okay. If you look at the size of the industry in India, about $60 billion is what people say. It's still small as compared to the global size, about a tenth of the global size. And that sort of gives you even more confidence that, there's enough scope to grow and we're not really saturated in one way in terms of global and Indian trends. One thing I like to pick up is around digital and the percentage of digital cards versus non-digital cards. The percentage remains very small in our country, around 3 to 4%, versus when you compare to countries outside India, it's about 20-25%. So I think given the whole move towards digital, move towards cheaper and cheaper data plans, I think you'll see an increased number of consumers moving toward digital platforms in gifting. And moving towards what we see globally. Secondly, I think the interesting thing is that if you look at categories that we spend on in India versus categories that we spend on globally, globally, entertainment is the big category where gifting goes in. For India, I think the three big ones are travel, hospitality and salons.
But reports are suggesting that the personal gifting market is the largest in India. It's at about $20 billion. Festive gifting comes at about 7.5, and corporate gifting is a small portion of personal gifting at $2.5 billion. My question to you really is, how does this compare with what's happening globally? I know it is small, but what's the size, what's the potential that we can, sort of grow to? And do you think that these categories are going to shift? Do you think perhaps that, more and more corporate gifting perhaps is going to pick up, more and more festive gifting maybe is picking up? Or are you happy that personal gifting is what is happening globally and that's the way this market should head?
Earlier, gifting was all about occasion-based gifting. Now, slowly, it is moving towards personal gifting. People like to, gift generally also without there being an occasion. So, I think slowly there is a move from festive gifting to personal gifting. Even corporates, they like to strike a personal connect with their, be it employees or be it customers or their clients. So slowly, gifting is on the rise.
Any other perspectives on the panel?
So I think that globally corporate gifting is very big, and I think India shows a contrary trend to some extent. I think we will move towards the direction, but perhaps I think we will still not be as occasion friendly as European American markets. If you contrast some years back, the percentage amount of gift cards consumed during Christmas was about 60%. That means 60% of the gift card spend was at one event in the world, Christmas. And in the last 4-5 years, come down to 42-43%. So to her point, I think we are sort of beginning to have different occasions rather than the standard occasions we had in the past that we sort of go and buy only at that occasion it's done. Sure. So I guess that's where we sort of need to sort of also look at how the trend is changing across the global place.
Okay. Fair enough. I also want to talk about innovation, and both of you are, of course, doing businesses that are very niche. But I really want to understand what perhaps helped you understand that this was definitely a market in India which would pick up, that Indians would be open to this concept of going and picking out their own gift. What sort of innovations do you think that this market is picking up? Harsh started this panel by talking about trends that he sees going forward. What sort of trends are the two of you seeing in the gifting market?
Since Indians are, adapting a lot of Western styles and, global trend, I would say. So yes, people are open to new concepts in India, and they are, open to asking for gifts because they don't want to compile, gifts which are unwanted, repetitive. So they would rather just ask for it rather than being forced that, okay, this is what I want to give and this is what you should have. So, they have a freedom, and now since they have realized that they have the freedom, so I think, this is what they should be opting for.
What sort of innovations are you seeing?
So, gifting has always been a part of Indian tradition and culture. Indians like to give to show their appreciation or good wishes or gratitude to other people. However, due to the changing trends in this country, increase in the purchasing power, the new millennium coming into the market, women empowerment, nuclear family, work-life balance, lots of factors, I think the form and nature of gifting has gone for a change. So, gifting could be divided into product gifting, e-voucher gifting, as well as experiential gifting. So when we come to product gifting, in the retail, in the physical brick and mortar store, the store would be available 24/7 at a particular place. However, the reach would be restricted to people living close by. However, in the case of an online world, you are able, the entire world is your market. So the reach becomes higher. And because of that, the personalization and differentiation which the customer wants now is much higher than what used to be there earlier in the gifting market.
Sure.
Along with this, I think it's the experiential gifting which is also slowly coming up in the market. So people want to give something which speaks about them, the gifter as well as the giftee.
Sure.
So that is also making a mark where people want to create memories of life for the gifter as well as the giftee, and that is where experiences are also making a foray into the gifting market.
Okay, I want to talk about, and since we're discussing innovation and disruption in this industry, my question to you, Harsh, is how it's being disrupted thanks to the fact that you have, say, for an instance, an Amazon now, which has come in with that kind of money, and it's changing how things are being done. You have Indian brands like a Flipkart, etc., which are also increasingly being used used as gifting portals. And to the two of you, to the two entrepreneurs on this panel, how are you collaborating perhaps with some of these companies? What's your experience been? And on the other hand, your advice to our viewers about how perhaps they can take on this competition, how they can hold their own against this competition. Ash.
I think there are 4 or 5 reasons why I would say companies can become successful in this space. I think one, and some of them have been mentioned by my colleagues, I think one is about understanding our consumers better. What does he or she want? 2 is about personalization. Again, you mentioned that. If you're able to personalize your product, if you're able to personalize your experience, then you have a higher chance of being successful in your own right. The 2 challenges that come in after this is one around the barriers in the consumer's mind. We all assume that if it's an Amazon or if it's any of our products, the consumer automatically understands how to interpret a product and buy it.
Sure.
But there could be language barriers. There could be problems in terms of how he or she goes around a website and maneuvers around it.
Sure.
There could be things around cash, as you mentioned. So I think that's one big thing which we have to work on in terms of getting the consumer into our fold. It's not easy, but I think that has to be worked on. And lastly, you mentioned it's not about we and our company on our firm. It's we and the larger fraternity. Okay. We have to be able to work with Amazon, work with Flipkart in the best possible manner. I think people mentioned it doesn't mean that you're sort of not working with the large players, but you have to find ways to be relevant and at the same time earn enough money or whatever that you need from your perspective to will take this forward. So I think it's about collaboratively working. You can't avoid working with them, but you have to work with the right kind of attitude and bent of mind.
Since our revenue model is on affiliation programs, and we get commission from our affiliation programs.
Okay.
Only Amazon and Flipkart, they are providing the affiliation program in system. And that's where, it's very difficult for us to get through the bigger players in market like other e-com websites.
So you think there's a lack of understanding in some sense?
Yes, and they don't understand the concept at all.
Sure.
So we are struggling to get them on board. In terms of getting affiliated with them, getting the commission in place.
Do you think the perception in India is changing when it comes to our gift registry websites like yourself? You said that a lot of people in India still don't understand, but are you seeing that changing?
Yeah, they don't understand, but when you explain them, of course the first question we get is, isn't it rude to ask for gifts? And then we really have to explain that rather than having unwanted gifts, you better have what you want. So they are accepting it, and especially the mother segment and the brides, they are openly accepting it.
Okay, I also meant the companies. Do you think that when you're talking to businesses in India that you're looking for affiliations?
Oh yes, of course they are in fact open to give us the affiliations. They are working on it, but the program is not in system, but they're somehow trying to get us the affiliation program.
Sure. How about you, Meenu?
So I think Amazon and Flipkart are the e-com industry in our country. I mean, the e-com industry started with them coming up over here. However, having said that, they are limited to keeping products of all kinds, of all nature. Whatever is available, I think, in this country is available on them, and that also at a major discount, if I may say so. So I don't see India Santa competing with Flipkart or Amazons of the world, since they are only restricted to products, whereas product is only one segment which we cater to, and that also very limited things which could be personalized or customized to the customer's requirement. Our core focus would be on experiential gifting as well as on gift cards. So in this field, I feel that Amazon and Flipkart are not the market which I am currently targeting at.
Okay, I'm going to take a very quick break on that note, but we will continue talking about the opportunities, trends and challenges for entrepreneurs looking at the gifting space and also innovation. Do stay tuned, much more when we come back. Welcome back. You're with us here on The Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on The Crux, we're talking about the opportunities and challenges for entrepreneurs in the gifting space here in India. What does it take for a business to be successful in this digital age, which is in the gifting space? Do you necessarily need to be in the digital technology space in India, given the kind of people and the markets that you're catering to, or there's still a space for offline businesses, and how's that marriage really working out?
So I think the world is fast changing from only a offline online space to a omni-channel kind of space.
Sure.
So I think if you are existing in one of the domains, it won't be before long, but you'd have to consider moving across channels.
So you're saying it's necessary?
It's necessary, I would say. How much of that you straddle, I think depends on the business need and sort of how we are sort of straddling our own business priorities.
So for an industry viewpoint, do you think there is a market for offline businesses in your industry, is what I'm also trying to understand?
I mean, yes, of course there is, but then I think soon it's going to be all online because it helps the long distance gifting. So I think it's more feasible for long distance gifting, and also people using smartphones, which is again, it's accessible for anyone and everyone to go online and buy anything anytime. It's 24/7 hours service, and I don't think there is any restriction to it.
I think nowadays people want to gift something which speaks about themselves. So they need a lot of customization, personalization, which is a little tough when it comes to the physical retail store. Again, it is restricted to people staying close by in a limited vicinity, whereas because of the internet and the infrastructure, the logistics infrastructure booming, it becomes easier to get it delivered, to get a product or experience delivered anywhere in the world. So slowly, I think it's the internet penetration with the gifting culture in our country. Gift tech is here to stay, especially for the mobile savvy Indians.
For an entrepreneur who is selling maybe exclusively to the rural markets, what should she or he keep in mind? How are these markets different? Are you talking to them in perhaps say the vernacular languages? Are the kind of gifts that you're able to sell in these markets different? Are the price points different? And for businesses like yourself that because of technology you're able to sell to any market, how are you then sort of looking at these opportunities that are there? And let's start by first putting maybe a size in terms of how much maybe rural India is contributing when it comes to the gifting market.
So I don't have numbers in urban, rural. It's still an evolving industry, but my guess is that it's similar to the e-commerce industry where you sort of started to expand from the urban centers. It's very little, I would say, hardly even explored in our country. And I think it's defined by a few factors. I think one that our mobile penetration itself has sort of increased the last few years. Data plans have fallen over the last few years.
Sure.
So it can't be a case where people have even been exposed to the concept of gifting. There are many barriers that my colleagues here talked about. We've not even sort of touched the surface there. Two, I think our whole thing around logistics and getting the right price point delivered to the consumer may not be easy, because if you don't have a logistics infrastructure in place, we don't have a way of sort of getting to them, then I don't know how we would be able to sort of get an experience across to them in the right possible manner.
Sure.
So I guess it's still very, very nascent. I would sense that most of the entrepreneurs will be mainly in tier 1 and 2 towns. And even the tier 1 and 2 towns is it's a huge market. We've not even saturated it. So I think there's huge scope in the tier 1, tier 2 market.
I agree, but I also feel corporates have started, offering experiences and products to people in the tier 2 or tier 3 cities, if I may call them, non-urban. So a lot of experiences and all, catering to them are being offered by corporates, and that's how I think we are making a foray into them. Definitely a lot needs to be done. The communication needs to be much better. It has to be different from that in the urban areas.
Are the kind of products that are selling in a tier 2 and a tier 3, are they different from what you would sell in a city or a town? Are the price points different?
Slightly, yes. Probably people, in the tier 1 cities would be more adventurous, whereas in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, they would be a little more conservative. But yes, this people post-globalization, I believe, are very much into buying of experiences and products. They are willing to experiment now.
I want to talk very quickly about funding, and maybe you can give me a perspective first up, Harsh, in terms of whether more investors are open to funding businesses which are in this space.
I think money is available in the market, but I think investors are looking at the right kind of investment to put their money in. One, I think it should have a unique proposition which earns money in the short term and long term. I think I come back to those 4 trends I mentioned again. I think entrepreneurs have to come up with the right value proposition, with the right storyline, right profitability in short term and long term, and money will come. If you are a little confused in terms of a construct, I think that problem would exist across industry, not only in the gifting industry.
Initially, we have not been looking at funding because we didn't want to dilute, and neither did we want to dilute the concept. But yes, online business is a very expensive business, and yes, I think now is the time when we will be looking at funding.
Sure.
We are in the phase where we are going to go for funding soon. We are going to approach the investors. It's going to be a little difficult because the concept is a little different, but it's unique. And I'm confident that this is a sustainable business. Since Indian market is open about it, and the consumers are very happy with the concepts.
Okay, very quickly, let's also talk, and this question is to you specifically, Harsh, about the role of the government. Has it been all positive? Anything more that you'd maybe like to see? Does the government even look at this industry?
So I think the government can look at it as an industry. You said the right point. It's still not standing on its own as an industry. If you talk to a common man, I think he'll have a difficulty understanding what the gifting or gift card is going to be. And I guess that's what the government has to help shape with the entrepreneurs here. I think also when I look at industries in general, I think there should be almost like a grievance cell, a nodal cell which sort of hears problems of the industry. If there are complaints coming up between the industry or consumers, someone has to be able to address that. Sure. I think a little bit disorganized there, and perhaps it's true for every new micro industry which comes up. I guess that's where we need to have a representation in terms of how we sort of take the help of the government to try and recognize it as a true industry, not as a part of industry just moving forward.
So what have been the opportunities and challenges of building a brand in a digital age?
it's not really that difficult because majority of the female audience is on social media and the youngsters. And this concept, what we are talking about here, is asking for gifts, is it is better accepted by the youngsters,
Sure.
Yes, I mean, we are going on social media to promote this.
How about you, Meenu?
So I think branding is normally more about emotions, how you want to connect to your consumers. So in an online world, if you do not have a sophisticated brand plan in mind, you have missed the bus. So the way to go, I think, is to focus a lot on getting customers via your brand plan, as well as getting customers online through the social media.
Maybe as an entrepreneur, starting out, what have been your biggest challenges? What have you learned from that? What advice would you give to our viewers?
First of all, getting the right technology partner. There are lots available, in the market, but getting someone who understands your passion of doing the business and who has the right skills was a challenge. Getting the right vendors on board to offer experiences was also tough. For every, one go ahead, we would face 5 rejections. Along with that, we would also need to, validate whether they are the vendors which we are looking at. Getting customers was also a challenge, because if you don't have a brand name, initially you do not have a brand to speak of, it is difficult to convince customers to pick up experiences or products from you. Again, there is an Amazon or a Flipkart for
Sure.
products, so it is a challenge convincing customers that you're not here to cheat them but to stay.
What does it take for a business which is either in the omni-channel, sort of a business model, or in the offline or the online model, to be successful in India if they're in the gifting space?
So I think the first thing would be understanding the consumer well, understanding the consumer occasions of consumption well. If you don't understand it well, you don't have a value proposition at all. 2 would be to look at how you personalize your experiences. This is not just a general way in which you're gifting gift cards to people. As the more specific you can become, I think the better in terms of how your firm sort of behaves and how the consumer reacts. Third, I think it's all about understanding the barriers again. It's difficult when you go rural, when you go urban, languages, your websites, what vendors you have, what vendors you don't have, does your tech site work? So understanding the barriers and trying to minimize, I would say, the consumer dissonance as they get to it. And lastly, but not least, is I think, yes, Amazon, Flipkart, all that being said, but it's all about how you partner with the ecosystem. With or without Amazon is sort of is immaterial, but what kind of ecosystem do you bring to play that makes you larger than what you are as a one single firm?
Okay. Harsha, Yogita, Meenu, thank you so much for your time here on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of The Crux. If you have any feedback for us, as always, we love hearing from you. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. Get in touch with us on our social media pages. Sunanda_J is my personal Twitter handle. LOT_ET now is our official Twitter handle. You can also get in touch with us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.